Hi, welcome to Funny Fuscata. I'm Shawn. You got me in my car hearts again. I spent all day yesterday in the wood shop working on Christmas presents, and I was just like white with sawdust. And today I got another day of work to do. I was supposed to have everything ready for Christmas, but then they took like the family event that we're having and they bumped it up like 5 or 6 days. So 4 days. Anyway, I thought I had a whole other weekend to get everything done, but I don't. So I took a couple days off of work so I can finish everything up. So it's early in the morning. I'm going to be getting started. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to you about Luigi Mangione. And like why I'm not an expert. I don't have, a dog in the fight, I guess, as they say. But I think people are missing the point, and that's irritating to me. So in my case, I've been fortunate because I served in the Air Force. And so while I was on active duty, I had, my healthcare was covered 100%. And then I retired. And one of the reasons why I retired from the Air Force is because I saw other people who were in the civilian sector and just how much money they were paying for health insurance. And I thought, that's crazy. I can just ride this out until I hit at least 20 years, retire, and then, continue to have my military healthcare, which I did. And it used to continue being no cost for veterans who had retired, but starting a couple years before I retired, they have us pay a small premium, which I don't mind because it's pretty good healthcare. My wife and I haven't had anything major at this point, but still, everything's covered and with very, very small co-pays, so it's not that big of a deal. However, with our dental program is kind of a joke. And maybe you've seen this with your dental programs, is that they cover routine stuff and cleanings and maybe, minor, not operations, but minor dental care that's a little bit if you got to get a tooth pulled or cavity filled or whatever, they'll cover that kind of stuff. Well, my wife has, is it bruxism? She grinds her teeth at night real bad. And she goes through night guards every couple months. And over the years, it caused her 2 front teeth to start coming loose. So we had to, she had to get them taken out. And our dental plan covers none of that because they consider it, it's elective surgery. And I'm like, her teeth are falling out. What are you going to do? But they wouldn't do it. And then the other thing is that in order to do that, they had to do a bone graft, and the insurance doesn't cover bone grafts. And they also had to put in temporary teeth while the bone graft grew in because it's her 2 front teeth. And they had to put in temporary teeth while the bone graft fused for a few months. And because they were temporary, they wouldn't cover that. So basically the dental and my dental insurance paid for about 5% of the whole procedure, about a $20,000 procedure. So, and I don't have $20,000 just sitting around that I don't know what to do with. So I'm having to borrow the money from the in-laws, and it's just well, I guess you could say it's kind of a kick in the teeth. And I also have kids that are, in their early 20s, and my youngest son is still covered, and my youngest daughter is still covered. But, my oldest daughter, she's been off my insurance plan for a long time. And my middle son, he's, got a full-time job. My oldest son, he's got his own insurance now. But still, I see the premiums that they're paying. You just kind of feel hopeless and helpless. It's ridiculous. And so when I heard about Luigi's alleged act of violence, I won't lie, and I'm among the people I was beside myself with glee. I was so fucking happy when I heard about that. I'm like, this is good. You know what? Good. I'm glad. Good. I'm glad somebody did something. And I know that sounds morbid, and I know that sounds like, it's not the right response that you're supposed to have as a good, upstanding citizen and all that kind of stuff. But to me, it wasn't just about, taking out a CEO. It was about something much deeper that's going on in our country. And I think that's the part that nobody's talking about. People focus on, the healthcare because it was wrapped around healthcare, and this is a healthcare CEO. But there's a bigger problem, and this is a symptom of a bigger problem that nobody's talking about, and we keep missing. And if we keep on missing it, then the violence is going to get worse. And I don't want to see that. Which sounds weird because, I honestly, I haven't been, when I heard that, what's his face, I won't even acknowledge him with a name, good, but when I heard that he was executed, and people keep calling it an assassination or a murder or whatever, but this was an execution. And Mr. Mangione, or Luigi, allegedly, declared himself judge, jury, and executioner. And I guess we'll let the law find out if that was right, wrong, or indifferent. But I haven't been so happy to hear about somebody's death since Osama bin Laden. And I think, and I was even happier because in my mind, having served and having spent time in Iraq and having seen, known a lot of people over there in the Middle East and gotten their opinions and their take on, why, these people attacked the U.S. and why these Islamic extremists, hate America. And when you get your take on that, you can see that while what Osama bin Laden did was evil and horrible and, a terrible act of terrorism, he was doing so because in his mind, he was defending his holy land. He did that because he wanted the West out of Saudi Arabia. That's their holy land. That's where, like all their holy texts and their, like, the founding of their religion, and that's the sacred place. And us Westerners, with our loose morals and however else they view us, they don't want us there. And they said, we don't want you there. We don't want you there. We don't want you there. And we were like, you know what? Fuck off. We're coming in anyway. And so, they attacked the World Trade Center. And like I get it. I get it. Was it a terrible thing to do? Yeah. Was it a horrible tragedy? Yes. Did it cause untold death and destruction and mayhem for years and years and years and completely change the course of human history? Yes. But I understand why one person who felt powerless against a tyrannical system would act out in violence. Yeah, also yes. And in that way, in my mind, I was happy when Osama bin Laden died, because at the time, I was still like a diehard conservative Republican. I was still, in the military and very gung-ho and hoorah about the whole thing. And so he still represented to me like the face of evil. And it wasn't until years later that I kind of came to see it differently. But today, with whoever the CEO guy was, with his execution, I mean, the stuff that guy was doing was just like legitimately evil. Like there was nothing else behind it that was like altruistic. You know, like, he wasn't defending his homeland. He wasn't defending his religion. It wasn't some, great difference in political or religious ideology. There was nothing about his life where one could step back and say, well, he had legitimate grievances and that's why he carried out this, terrible act of violence. No, this fucker was just straight up greedy. That's it. I mean, that's the whole thing. He just wanted more money. More and more and more and more and more and more money. And that's it. There was nothing justifiable about his position, about what he did, about the actions that they took. There was like, I mean, it's just the face of evil. Straight up the face of evil, I hear a lot of people, remember during the Trump campaign where people were talking about how, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're going to end democracy and blah, blah, blah. And he's like a tyrant and he's a fascist and he's going to do this kind of stuff. And then you had, assassination attempts. And what I thought interesting about that, especially with this whole Luigi situation, is that this guy from United Healthcare, like, legitimately is. Like, that's, like, legitimately evil. Like, there's no gray area about that. Like, that's straight up, you're stealing from the poor and giving to the rich, and you're denying people healthcare, and people are dying, and you're just making more and more and more and more money, And you can look at Donald Trump and say, does he support the common man? Doesn't he? Is he bought up by corporations? Is he not? Is he self-serving? Is he not? Is he, like, I don't know. Is he a billionaire? Yes, he's also a billionaire. But, like, there's no part, like, I don't see anything in Donald Trump where he's just, like, straight up stealing money from people. I mean, okay, so Trump University and Trump steaks and Trump vodka and, but, like, that's how billionaires make their money, is they have these, like, crazy business ideas. I mean, you see this on Shark Tank all the time, where, they've got these, business ideas, and they make investments, and they try different things, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't, and then they can claim bankruptcy, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, and, and they get, like, crazy tax write-offs, but then they accumulate all these businesses and all these properties, and that's how they become billionaires, Like Elon Musk isn't a billionaire because he gets, like, a huge hourly wage. He's a billionaire because he owns tons of Tesla stock, and, he's founded PayPal, and he's got this huge, like, investment portfolios. I heard he doesn't even take much income out of that at all. And he lives in kind of a humble house when he's not actually sleeping at the factory, but he just accumulated a lot of assets, But the thing is, like, even with Elon Musk, you look at him and his stated mission is that he wants to empower humanity, that he wants to be able to go to the moon. Is he tyrannical in his business practices sometimes? Yeah. But he has a grand vision of what he's trying to do, where he's trying to take humanity. But these guys from United Healthcare or, Consolidated Healthcare, like, whatever those healthcare insurance industries are, I mean, you could make the argument that they're trying to save other, what's the word? They're trying to, save money. And I think his boss came out and said that part of their job is to make sure that, people aren't getting healthcare that they don't need. People that, that they aren't paying for things that they shouldn't have to be paying for, that there's no, frivolous payments going out, and fair enough. Like, if I'm paying into a healthcare system, and, people start going in and, like, everybody wants, breast augmentation, for vanity, well, then no, because I'm paying into this so that if I have cancer or, like, an appendicitis, or my leg breaks, or, so that those healthcare costs are covered. Like, I'm not paying into the system so that, Mary Jane and Susie Happenblop can, go get bigger boobs so that they feel better in their bikini. It's like, no, that's vanity. No, if you need it because you had, like, breast cancer and you need, plastic surgery so you feel more whole as a person, then hell yeah, let's, that's the kind of thing that we're paying into the system for, right? Sure. But when these health care insurance companies start, just like denying people just for the sake of making more money, no. Anyway, the point that I'm getting at is that when I don't think that Luigi allegedly was necessarily pushing back against the healthcare system. And I don't think that's what this is about. And I think if we allow this to be about just the healthcare system, then we're missing the point, and we won't find the solution that we need. We won't fix the problem. Because the real problem is the massive upward transfer of wealth, the decimation of the middle class, the neglect of our infrastructure, our social systems, our government systems, like the neglect of all these things. They're just crumbling around it. We're watching them crumble around us, and we're powerless to do anything. They say, well, have a peaceful protest, or go and vote, or start grassroots campaigns. It's like, how am I going to start a grassroots campaign to ensure that Nancy Pelosi, whom we know is completely corrupt, we know she practices insider trading, like we know that happens, and am I like gonna start a grassroots campaign to stop Nancy Pelosi from practicing insider trading? Like, come on. Like everybody in Washington D.C. does this. Senators, congressmen, they become fantastically wealthy. It's one of the fastest ways to become a millionaire, is to get elected to Congress. Like, how was that on a salary of like $140K or whatever it is, right? Like, come on. We know that they're corrupt. And what am I supposed to have, like a peaceful protest? Have a grassroots campaign to overcome that? No. That's not going to work. Not going to work. And am I going to have like a grassroots campaign so that, the powers that be in Washington, D.C. will like, start to enforce laws to fix the healthcare system? That's also not going to happen. And we know that this just massive upward transfer of wealth is, I'm a random guy in New Jersey. I'm a random fucking guy in New Jersey. What the fuck do I know? But I know that the inflation that we've seen has been artificial. And they'll say, well, it's because of the stimulus checks, and it's because of, this and that and the other thing, and, it's because, the market and corrections and yada, yada, yada. But the truth is that commodity prices went up a little bit, fair enough, but then the corporations also were gouging. They were also price gouging. There was a study that came out like a year and a half, 2 years ago, where they showed, like, yeah, corporations are totally price gouging. And did the Biden administration do anything about it? And nope. Did anybody in Congress, the Senate, anybody? Did anybody do anything about it? Nope, they didn't do a fucking thing. And what am I going to vote and start a grassroots campaign to stop corporate price gouging, to get inflation back under control? No, I'm not. Not gonna, like, there's nothing that you can do. You're powerless against the system that is literally actively seeking to destroy the middle class and do these massive upward wealth transfers, like the auto industry, like there was that story a little while ago about the dude who bought a Subaru. I want to say it was in Utah, maybe. And there was something wrong with it, and he wanted to bring it back. And they were like, nope, you bought the car, that's it, it's yours now. And he was so pissed off, he drove it back into the showroom, like threw the glass back into the showroom, And it's like, because these auto lenders, like they're like credit card companies. they're allowed to charge like 29-30% interest. Like, that's insane. Like, the mob back in the 70s was like, oh man, we're the mafia, we're criminals, but we're not going to charge any more than like 15, 20 tops, And that was a criminal empire. Like, the guys in the mafia these days are looking at credit card companies and being like, damn, dude, that's pretty steep. Because they're just straight up stealing money. That's what this is. The healthcare industry, the banking industry, the mortgage industry, the housing, everything, every single where you look, they're stealing, taking your money, and it's not just the government. If you're just being taxed, you could be upset if you were just being taxed, but you're not just being taxed. You're being taxed and charged, and there's interest, and you're being stretched, and inflation is going up, and wages can't keep up, and what's the answer we get? Vote. Start a grassroots campaign. And I think Mr. Mangione allegedly said, fuck that. Fuck you. I'm done. And it's because it's not just about the healthcare. It's not just about healthcare costs. That's part of it. It's a small part of it. It's like right now, like, how old is he? 26? And there's a very real possibility that since he's he had some health issues, but like other 26-year-old men, there's a possibility they could get drafted into this war that's coming up that, Joe Biden seems hell-bent to start. And for what? For what? Like in World War II, like my grandparents were like, let's go fight the Nazis, because they're killing the Jews and they're taking over Europe, and that's not okay. We can't allow that. And, we're going to go help. My grandfather lied about his age so that he could join the army, so that he could go and fight and help out. Also, he needed work. But, and even in, Vietnam, they had the draft. But, the story was back then that, it was like communism was taking over and we had to fight against that and blah, blah, blah. And, okay, fight against communism. Communism is a terrible thing. You don't want it spreading around the world because it's killed, like, hundreds of millions of people. Okay. And then for me, my generation, we had 9/11, and I was all crazy gung-ho, like, you attack us, you attack all of us, and we're gonna go fight you, and blah, blah, blah. And, I didn't understand, like, why we were invading Iraq. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I trusted the government. But these days, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna, like, declare war on Russia because Putin's a dick? Like really? And you're gonna ask me to volunteer to, like, throw my body on the line and lay down my life for my country because you think Putin's a dick? Like, come on. And what, China? We're gonna go to war for China with China because what, they want to own Taiwan, which makes all the chips, and we want Taiwan to be free. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And now you're gonna, like, draft me and to, like, go fight some obscure bullshit war over fucking microchips, and, like, you want me to believe that Putin's a dictator, but, like, I don't know. There's like, why? What the fuck is your point? What are you doing? It's stupid. It's like they're not even trying anymore. They're not even trying. And with all that stuff going on, like, and when you look at Luigi, what he allegedly did, I mean, can you blame him? I'm sitting here down by the lake and there's a juvenile bald eagle flying around. Here's the thing. And you know what? That's a good thing to end on. I wish I could get a good picture of it when landed in a tree. When I was a kid, I remember being very young, probably younger than kindergarten, and hearing stories about bald eagles, because at the time they were going extinct. And it was a really, really rare thing to see a bald eagle. Like, you only ever heard of them. Maybe somebody would see one in like Colorado or something like that. And I grew up with this idea that, bald eagles like only lived in the mountains, and, they were this incredibly rare thing. You never got to see them. Even though they were our national bird, which would imply that at one point in time there was probably quite a lot of them. But over the years, good people with good intentions made good policies and made good decisions, and worked with environmental agencies and worked with local agencies and fish and game and wildlife preservation. And now you see bald eagles all across the country. When I lived in Missouri, there was where we were, it was a nesting area. And in the wintertime, they would winter over there in Missouri, and there'd be like just dozens of them. I'd go for a walk down by the river, and I'd have to be careful because I have a little dog, Gigi. And I'd have to make sure, because, in the spring and the summer, I could have Gigi like off leash, walking down trails because there's nobody else around. But in the wintertime, no, I wasn't going to let her off the leash, because she would be like a delicious little snack for an eagle, I think. And now, here I'm in New Jersey and I see bald eagles all the time. And so in a way, I think that where the analogy works out for me on this is that the bald eagles did get to a point where they were nearly extinct. And we were able to course correct. We were able to fix it. And now they're back. And right now in America, we're at a boiling point where the people are about to erupt. I feel it. Like, I want to erupt. Like, I want to see an all-out war. Like, there's a part of me that wants to see, like, heads on sticks all up and down Wall Street and be like, listen, motherfuckers, if you keep fucking with us, this is what we're gonna do to you. Keep fucking with us and we'll keep chopping off heads. Let's go French Revolution style, right? Except that, that's a rough way to go. And it never works out the way that you think it's gonna work out. And the people who are the revolutionaries, when they start coming in power, man, it can get really ugly. Like, think of Che Guevara. He was a fucking psychopath. Brilliant revolutionary. He had the swagger, he had the charisma, he had everything. But he also had the psychopathy. And you don't want this. Like, I get the anger. I see what Luigi allegedly did, and I'm like, I get it, man. I 100% get it. I've been there. I've lived in those shoes. People that I love live in those shoes. I get the anger. And when I found out that what's his name was dead, I was happy. But then when you step back and think about it, you're like, all right, maybe let's pick up the hint, and like, you look at the bald eagles and they're back because we fixed it. We got together and we fixed it. because enough serious people did it, and we fixed it. But it wasn't from like grassroots campaigns, and it wasn't, from that kind of thing. It was because, like, people got pissed, and people saw that was a symbol of America that was going away because we weren't paying attention and we weren't being good stewards. And now we're at another point, like this is the beginning salvo of a all out war that's going to happen. It's coming. Every generation wants their war, and Gen Z and millennials, they want their war, and this is the war that they're going to choose. And the powers that be, you have the choice. You can choose how this war comes out. You can make this a war of peaceful protests in the street, and where they feel empowered, and where they, the medical healthcare industry is reformed, and taxation is reformed, and the corporate America is reformed, and it can be a peaceful battle where there's still like tremendous change takes place, or it can be a bloodbath. And the thing is, like, the working class people who are making, like, and when I say working class, I mean people who are making like $300K and less. We don't have a choice. And the choice is up to the government and the corporations, the big corporations. Like, how do you want this to go? How do you want this to go? Do you want there to be like a peaceful revolution where there's like, maybe some protests and, petitions and, like great speeches that come out, and you can have that. Or you can have executions and beheadings and heads on sticks and all out war across the country. And I know some people, like in the military industrial complex, are like, come on, let's start shooting some bullets, maybe, And some of the insurance companies are like, oh, come on, people who own real estate are like, I've been wanting to get that place renovated anyway, so I'm completely insured. So do you guys want to have a protest like here in front of my place? That'd be great. Maybe set it on fire. That'd be cool. I could use a renovation. But so my message to the powers that be is your move, boys and girls. It's your move. How do you want this to go? Because I think that this younger generation has made it pretty clear how they want this to go. And I know nobody wants to get hurt, but you've been trying to show us the enemies that you want us to hate. And we're starting to realize now that you're the enemy that we hate. So I think my message to the powers that be and the CEOs and the corporations and the government is unfuck yourself before you fuck yourself, because it's coming. I'm not happy about it, but that's the decision point that you're at. And this isn't just about healthcare. This is about everything else too. Anyway, love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments and discussions. Like, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.